Hello, and welcome to another episode of Optometry Unleashed. I'm your host, Dr. Trevor Miranda. Today, we're unleashing the secrets of the entrepreneurial mindset with our guest, Kevin Wilhelm, founder and president of Pod Marketing. Together, we'll explore the keys to building a thriving business with a winning team. Plus, we'll uncover some tips to market your own business and take your business to the next level. Pod Marketing is a digital marketing powerhouse, propelling businesses to grow and achieve results in unique industries. In just a decade, Kevin and his team have transformed Pod Marketing into a multi-million-dollar powerhouse with over 100 passionate employees, earning them the coveted Canada's Most Admired Corporate Cultures Award. Kevin's also a best-selling author of Click, Transform Your Business Through Digital Marketing, and I'm thrilled to have him join us today. On a personal note, we've been working with Kevin and his team to market our optometric practice for decades now, and Kevin has helped grow our business. And he's done that in a unique way, and we're going to get the secrets today. So without further ado, let's jump in. Welcome to the show, Kevin Wilhelm.
Trevor, thank you so much. Really appreciate having me on the podcast. I've listened, and congratulations on launching it. I know that the industry is talking about it. Many people have brought it up to me. So congrats on such a great, successful launch.
Well, thanks, Kevin. And having great guests like you join me is what makes this an amazing experience and community. And I hope our listeners can learn something and laugh a little bit too, because, you know, when I'm with you, Kev, I always feel it's a joy. You know, we're having fun and we're learning and we're growing our businesses together. And I know you've really built your business in a short time. It's been a decade now, and you have over 100 employees. How does that feel? What do you feel, a weight of responsibility to have so many mouths to feed, so to speak?
I mean, I get asked that question quite a bit, and yes, I do, and I think especially because there are a lot of people that are willing to, just follow and willing to like get behind the mission. And so I do take that as a responsibility to make sure that we're leading and we're going the right direction, doing the right things. And so, big picture, I take it really seriously. Day to day, I honestly take very little that seriously, and I try to have fun and try to make work sort of a joy. But when we get into the strategy planning, we get into the big decisions, I don't take those lightly at all.
Yeah, I think having fun in what you do is a bit of an expression of how you do things, you know. So if you're having fun, it just means, you know, you're not working, you're just it's a passion, you're expressing your passions. And I think you're really great at having fun. What are some of the things that you do to incorporate fun in your teams and in your work?
So the first thing is it's a mindset. I always will use the term, I get to go to work. I don't have to go to work. I get to wake up in the morning and work with great people. And then when I'm there, I try to just take ourselves a little less seriously. I mean, you guys are the doctors. You're the ones that are really impacting the health of people. I say to my staff all the time, we're not heart surgeons. We're not brain surgeons. We get to shine a spotlight on the great businesses and really help them. And so I try to let people just take a breath and first enjoy the work that they get to do. And then, I love pranking people. I love having jokes. I love being able to just kind of call out people in certain situations, especially when I built that trust to be able to do that. But I try every day to come in with a level attitude, a positive outlook. One thing that I think people will always say about me is you'll never see me in a bad mood. I make sure I check any of that at the door. And when I walk through the office, it's always the same. And I try to find opportunities where I can inject just a little bit of fun. I mean, we have one of those hoverboards in the office, and so there'll be a challenge here or there. Can you go backwards around that table, or there'll be a little basketball net, and someone will walk by, and we'll just do little challenges. And so we're always just kind of injecting the opportunity to put fun into anything and kind of the mundane. And then people, it's the surprise factor. They're surprised when they get to interact that way, and just not take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, I think you can have fun in everything you do, including, as a doctor and eye care, including that patient in the joke and having fun is just great. What's one of the best pranks that you've done, Kevin, on your team, let's say?
So we did one recently. I mean, kind of recently, it was about a year ago. We did a rebrand of the company, and our art director went on holidays, and I knew it was a passion project. And so behind the scenes, I had her team create a believable but really bad version of our logo. And so she wanted to be the one to create it. So when she came back on our Monday morning kickoff with all of our employees company wide, I told her that her team, to surprise her, had rebranded the company, and no one in the company knew except for the few people we were in. And I unveiled it, and I watched her face, just I think the soul was sucked out of her. But then I asked her to come on and share with everyone her thoughts. And I mean, her name is Diana, in true Diana fashion, she complimented the people that did that, while trying, I think, not to cry at how bad it was. And so since then, we've taken that logo, we've put it on shirts. The designers wear them. It's kind of now a part of our culture lore, is having this fake logo that's kind of floating out there.
Yeah, that's a great story. I'll share one with you, Kevin. I had one of my friends whose wife's an optometrist go into one of my office, and I prepped him with all the details of the staff, and he was there to pick up his glasses that he picked from with Donna, last week, and he was told to come, and they have no record of him, of course, because it's just a ploy, but they really sweated it out. They weren't too happy with me. I was laughing. We made them sweat a little bit, and I said, "Oh, Aaron, I thought you'd see through that." She's like, "This Brian deserves an Academy Award for that acting job." So that was a good little prank. So it is good to have fun, but there's always consequences because there's a target on your back for the next prank, right?
Absolutely. You know what? That's the way it should be, is we have to be able to take it if we can dish it out. And there's always a challenge out to my team to try to create that for me.
Yeah. What questions do you ask when you're thinking of ideas to grow a business? If you have a new grad, I've been in practice 25 years now, and I have different growth needs and different pieces that I'm trying to market. But a lot of our of my colleagues are trying to grow their practice, and they need to, because they've got equipment expenses, or they got young families. And what do you need? What's the essence of that piece of marketing your business?
I mean, honestly, at the foundation, I think the first is understanding your why for growing. And putting the entrepreneur hat on, putting the business owner hat on, there's different motivators that exist, and I think understanding which one is the right one for you. So there's the revenue growth, there's profitability growth, there's freedom, which is either less practice days or freedom to travel the world, as many of your colleagues and do. There's also creating a better life for employees, or there's the just overall greater good and contributing to society. And so really understanding for you, what is the intrinsic motivator as to why growing your business matters, and then creating sort of that vision that is something that you can write down and share with the company to get everyone else behind you. And I think most people want to work for a winning team. They need to know what winning looks like. They need to know what matters to you as the owner. And when you can share that vision, if you can articulate that vision clearly and consistently, then you can build unity and really build a team that wants to row that boat behind you. And I will say the number one thing, if you want to grow a business, is having a team that is rowing with you and really propelling you forward, as opposed to all trying to row different directions and some people aren't rowing. It makes it really hard. And so the number one thing is getting everybody bought in and rowing the boat the same way.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think, also sometimes you have to change the rowers on your team if they're not rowing, and you start to challenge those people. Is this the right position for you? If you want to join us, you've got to be working with us, not rowing against us. So I think that's a great point. What do you think? I know a lot of people in the industry will look at optometrists and think, wow, you are such poor business owners. You're great doctors, but you really don't run your business like a business, because we weren't educated on that. To be honest, we were educated as doctors of optometry, of eye care, the HR, the marketing, even the financial piece of running an actual business is a bit foreign to a lot of us. I've had to learn that myself from the get-go. What do you think is overlooked by optometrists that are opportunities out there to grow and become a better business?
I mean, the first thing I'm going to say is executives in companies are the ones that have gone to school for business. Many business owners never did. And they thought there was a better way of doing something, or they're motivated by creating a great product or great experience, and that drove them. And then they're in the same boat. They don't know about HR and accounting and sales and marketing and processes and operations. And so what you'll find is the business community at large, and I'm really surrounded and dialed into the business community, is probably even less far along than most doctors, because doctors have gone to school for some things and they've been around. A lot of them were associates, and they had kind of mentors along the way. And so the first thing I would do is just give a pass to yourself on terms of, I hear that all the time. We didn't go to school to be business people. Most business owners also didn't go to school. We're all kind of learning it together. But I really think that the opportunity for growing a business is clear. I've said it before, it's the clear vision. It's understanding, what are we trying to accomplish? And I've used this, if you've ever heard me speak, I say this over and over and over again. It's, what do you do differently than everyone else? And optometry, the general optometry practice, is becoming commoditized. Marketing is severely commoditized, which basically means, how are we choosing it? Are you wanting to be chosen by location and by price? Definitely not. So what are you doing to create, forcing a patient to drive by 4 or 5 of your competitors to choose you? And we have to be intentional with creating value for patients, creating something different that says, I only go to Cowichan Eye Care. That's the only place I go. And if I move, I'm staying with you, and I'm gonna drive a little further. I want to throw that back to you. Like, you are one of the most successful business owner optometrists that I've ever worked with across Canada, even North America. I'd like to hear your, what's your tip to your colleagues? What are you telling people that call you and ask you?
Yeah, thanks for that, Kevin. I think for me, one of the biggest opportunities is that's that person that you have in your chair every single day, right? That's a great, they can tell 20 of their friends, good or bad, and there's an opportunity to impress them and lock them in forever. And how do you get to them specifically as to what are the hot buttons that speaks to that patient that will view them to never ever think of any other place for their eye care or eyewear than your office? And so I try, and that's customized per individual. For instance, a patient with macular degeneration, I tell them, listen, my goal is to help you see your whole life. I want you to die with the ability to be able to see. That's my goal. I'm going to do every single thing that I can, and there'll be new innovations. I'm going to present them to you first. You'll always be on my thoughts to make sure I can preserve your vision. When they hear things like that, it's going to lock them in, and they're going to tell everybody, go see Dr. Miranda. And so in a lot of ways, that's been the word of mouth growth for us. And yes, we use marketing strategies as well to spread that news and just have that big funnel. Some of the cool things that we're doing, Kevin, in our practices now are AMD wellness or macular degeneration treatment centers in optometric settings, some of that new technology. And if you think from a patient's perspective, a patient that's had macular degeneration, maybe their grandma or their mother or their aunt have gone blind. They've been diagnosed with macular degeneration. Now, that's a big worry, right? How are they going to go blind? And is there a treatment opportunity and new technology? And sort of that information is just so valuable at connecting and gluing that patient to your practice. If you treat them as your aunt or your mom or your cousin, and you realize, they're family, and they feel that they're never going to go elsewhere.
So what I'm hearing from you is that you're really elevating your authority. It's elevating optometry to being more than eyeglasses and an eye exam. I mean, you immediately use the word innovative, new technology, which is fantastic. You're carving out sort of that, we call it the blue ocean, which the red ocean is where there's all competitors. It's the sharks all swimming in the blood. But the blue ocean is clear. It's wide open. My question to you is, in this industry, we have opposed to dentists, where you're seeing somebody every 6 months. You're seeing them a little bit further apart. How do you look at it as an opportunity, or is it a challenge to stay connected with them between appointments? How do you view, either it's marketing or community involvement? I know you're so involved in the community, but how do you make sure that you stay connected, that they know that they're your patient between those kind of long stretches of appointments?
That's a great question. Trying to be connected with your patient when you have a frequency of every 2 years or sometimes longer is a challenge. It's an opportunity as well, and I think we could do better at that if they're always thinking of you. And sometimes it's subtle. It's a billboard, that we have in the community. It's some of our Google ads and displays that we have with you, or little teasers on social media that they're being connected with us. Maybe it's sponsoring the local soccer team, so they see our sign and they go, "That's my eye care place." So if they always feel part of the club, then that's important. They may forget the name of the doctor, but they know where to go. They know, where the practice is, and they know how you made them feel, I think, more importantly. So that is an ongoing challenge. And I think, some businesses may overdo the communications, but I think there's opportunity there because there's always something new. There's a lot of innovation, and eyes are really important. We use our eyes every day. And I think if you're helping people see and enjoy their vision more, or at least giving them opportunities to come and check in with you more, I think we can always improve. And I think that's when, I started with one practice, one staff. It was just me. And I think that mindset of constant improvement is what drives a great business. You never feel you're great. You're always trying to improve and grow. And that's that. I know that you share that passion of growing and improving, and just by your goals of training 250 days a year, you're trying to self-improve as well. And I think you want to have a great team with a great culture. So you're innovative and growing too, because you just can't stagnate.
Yeah, it's the James Clear Atomic Habits, the 1% concept. If you can make 1% improvement, that accumulates into building a great organization, or a great, optometrist, or a great business owner. It's hard to do it all at once. I think that 1% idea is really applicable here.
We're just going to take a brief break and hear from our sponsor. I want to take a moment to say thank you to Hoya Vision Canada, our sponsor for this episode. Hoya empowers eye care professionals to achieve their business goals through comprehensive training and regular business reviews. Super High Vision Mirio EX4 is the latest innovative anti-reflection coating that has set new industry standards for clarity and durability. Also, their award-winning myopia management lens, MyoSmart, has sold over 4 million lenses worldwide. To learn more, contact your local Hoya territory manager today and elevate your practice. And now back to our conversation with Kevin Wilhelm. Yeah, Kevin, I know you want to start a podcast talking about business and bourbon. So, as a sort of early crossover event before you launch your business and bourbon podcast here on Optometry Unleashed, I thought it was a great opportunity to maybe do a little business and bourbon segment with Kevin Wilhelm, with your guest, Dr. Trevor Miranda. So let's hand it over to you, Kevin. What do you have there for your bourbon?
Oh, well, thanks for that, Trev. Yeah, this is an idea that actually started and is an internal club. So at our agency, we know that there's this thing called in-groups, and people stay in companies because they're woven into the fabric and the culture. And so by creating passion groups, you can get people to connect that don't necessarily work together. And so I created a business club where we can just sit and talk overall business. And I wanted a way to attract people to it. So I added bourbon to it. So we go and buy like a craft bourbon or something unique. We do it once a month, and it's gone over really well. This is from my whiskey guild. I'm part of one that every month I get a bottle. It's Casey Jones Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It's 117 proof, so a little strong, but delicious. And it's fantastic. It's one that I've had before, and a big winner. But yes, I am hoping to launch a podcast. That is in the plans. I would love to interview guests like you. And so my question to you is, the first one is, what is your why? Why optometry? Why business ownership? And then why everything else you do? Because you could stop there, but every time I talk to you, you have an eyewear line, a conference, a new product, a new partnership. So what is your motivation in the morning? What gets you out of bed? What gets you to put the amount of work and effort in that you do?
Yeah, Kevin, I just want to talk about my
Oh,
this
you
is
had to
Blue
one up
Label.
me.
Like I thought, we're celebrating your 10 years in a great business with Blue Label. I like that Johnny Walker Blue. It's got a little smoky flavor to it. So, you know, love it. Cheers to you. Congratulations on 10 years in business. That's amazing. And I know when you ask me why do I do things? Why do I get up and just innovate and try new things like Optometry Unleashed podcast? That's new, and putting yourself out there to be judged really is always a bit of a challenge. And some people ask me why are you even doing that? Why are you working so hard all the time? Why are you working Saturdays? And I'm just driven. I'm driven, and I love it all. I want to try new things. I don't want to feel old and tired and useless. And I just love the opportunity to investigate new things, whether it's running a conference or doing some website pieces like at mydryeye.ca, which we collaborated with you, or mymacula.ca, which is a new venture for us. I think it's really cool. And also, I think there's just a joy in having a team, a team that's grown. We just celebrated our most senior staff member's 25th anniversary with us. I mean,
Wow.
that's amazing, right? To have a staffer dedicated that long to work 25 years is rather humbling to think, that person's dedicated a large part of their life really to working with and for you and have been instrumental in your success. I mean, it's amazing. So I feel dedicated to work for them. And I think by coming to work and with a great attitude and energy, I can help make their day better. And I say that to the patients too. It's a privilege to have someone pay to come and see you and chat with you. I mean, that's an amazing privilege. And if someone said, "Hey, you want $1 million or 10 million," maybe it's probably I need 10 million. It's you want $10 million, you can stop doing everything and just go rest. I'd say I'd be like a little bit sad, to be honest. I don't want that. I want to still have that passion, and to me, that passion's priceless. I'd rather have the passion and feel great about every day rather than just be like I'm done. Because I think when you're done, you're really done. On a side note, my buddy and I, we often do little vacations with our wives together, and sometimes we're out and it's a late night, and should we go back to bed or should we go out later? And his line is, we can sleep when we're dead, Trevor. Let's go. So I kind of use that in my real life too. I do think sleep's important, by the way, but I think, hey, let's just go and try to do everything that we can and soak it all up, because it's kind of a privilege to do what we do and be around the people that we're around.
Absolutely. I think you talk about, I talked earlier about the motivations of business owners, and one of them is, the staff and the team. And so it seems like that's one of those for you. It's always resonated. I have the pleasure of knowing many of your team, and they speak so highly of you. I see you at the conferences and the way you treat them, and that you're the leader you are. I think that it's very inspiring, and you keep it fun and upbeat and all of that. So I mean, fantastic. So ideal guest on a podcast outside of the industry. Who are you interviewing, and what are you asking them?
Who am I interviewing outside the industry? They all have a little bit of a connection to business and maybe eye care as well. It is entitled Optometry Unleashed, so my guests are varied, but I like to hear the stories behind their journeys. What's driving them? So what's driving you, Kevin, to get up every day? What drives you?
I think it's to do hard things. It's to feel accomplished at the end of the day. I always feel, you talk about staying out with your friend, and I love that, you're present with them in that moment and you don't want to leave anything on the table. To me, it's the same thing. I don't want to go to bed and leave anything on the table and feel like, I went to bed regretful. So I wake up and go, what is something that's going to be hard and I'm going to feel accomplished by the end of it? I think that was my early on why. And now, we have 130 people that work here. My why today is, and where I feel most proud, is seeing their growth and seeing the opportunities that they've been able to take on. And, across the organization, there's people that have just risen through the ranks, and, I've just grown professionally and personally. And the moments where they come and talk to me, typically in a social setting, a year-end party or what have you, and just say, I always felt I was in a box, I felt I was kind of restrained. And then coming here and being able to, work on things. And you talk about passion, and found that I'm really good at it. And so seeing their growth, seeing their accomplishment, that now is what really drives me. Is I want to create more opportunities. I want to create and impact more people. And so that is probably my number one driving force at this point.
A lot of your members of your team, Kevin, I've met, and I really like them on a personal level immediately. I know sometimes they're behind the scenes, maybe a voice rather than front center, but I mean, you hire very, very well, and I think that's an extension of your personality and your passion. Are you involved directly in those hires?
I mean, I was for many years. I kind of set the standard. And what's funny is two things. One is I was unstructured in how I hired. So I would always just have a conversation. I didn't have an interview guide. I just wanted to get to know them. And then I made an instinctual hire. But what that does is it sort of leaves out the apples to apples, really comparing candidates and to being fair to them. And so I had to implement a little bit of structure. And the second thing is being an optimist and being a business owner and an entrepreneur. I saw the best in everybody. And so I also was the person that you couldn't put a candidate in front of me that I didn't feel like we could do something together. And so I had to restructure how we interviewed. I had to bring somebody else in, and I asked them to look for red flags. So I'm going to have the conversation. We'll stick to structure, but I really wanted them to look for red flags. I assume they're going to be great. I assume they're going to be the right fit. And so originally I was very involved. Now I'm only involved in two positions. Anyone that deals with our clients, I will have a final interview. So I will have my team do the interviews, and then they put their final candidate in front of me. And anyone who manages people. And those two positions, because they're both a representation of me. So if my account manager is going to be assigned to you, Trev, I want to know that they represent my values, and they're going to speak to you the way that I would, expect, the way I would do that. And if you're managing people, I want to make sure that they're treating and they have the same core values that I do. So my final interviews are about 30 minutes, and I really am digging into core values at this point. I'm trusting the team has done they can do the job. Now I want to know, are they the right person for the job? And so that's where I get involved.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see when you've grown to a certain size of a company and that culture is gone through sort of generations, right? Where the team that you've built is now insisting and demanding and enculturating the other team and attracting like-minded team members. So kudos to you, Kevin, and Pod Marketing for being so amazing at culture building. What are your strategies for managing negativity in the workplace and stress? I guess, a lot of people are under stress, right? I'm sure you get some demanding customers that are wondering why their marketing plan isn't giving them great results. And how do you guys manage that?
So I don't think that is stressful. To me, I think the stressful is when you start crossing over and just not really sure how to communicate that to them. And I think they find that sometimes like they know something's working or they don't know how to get that communication across. But negativity is actually the antithesis of one of our core values, which is positivity. We reward, we hire, and we fire based on positivity. And I will tell you that my kind of my energy vampire is somebody that brings negativity, and they can be real. And there's a difference between being real and having real emotions and being able to sit in that and choosing to look the pessimistic route. And so I always say to people, we're human. We're going to have a bad moment, bad day, bad week, bad month, bad year, bad phone call. My team might have got off a phone call with you, and maybe it was a tough call. And so they have two options. One is they can announce to everybody, this guy's a jerk and blah, 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 and try to rile up, the camaraderie as negativity tries. Or they can leave that call and say, what can I do to turn this around? What can I do to win Trevor over? What kind of surprise can I create that wins him back over to me? Or what did I miss there? And so then they go to their manager and go, I had a difficult conversation. I'm missing the mark on this. Can you help coach me? We record phone calls. We listen to them. The managers come in, they work with them and say, I think what Trevor's trying to say is that he was frustrated with this or that. And then they go, and then they're able to come back and re-articulate it. And so to me, the negativity is not allowed when it is a choice they have to choose positivity, allowing the real. And we will say to them, there are certain people you can go to and have that real moment where you just need to almost vent or scream. It's a closed door conversation. And I say to them, what do you need from me right now? Is this venting or am I problem solving? And you're allowed to do both. And if you're venting, let's get it out, empty the cup and let's get it back out and be positive. And I mean, almost every time people choose that. And that's why the culture has been able to achieve what it has, because people are intentionally choosing positivity over negativity.
Yeah, I like that, Kevin. I think that's super important to shut down negative behaviors, whether they're gossiping or talking negative about somebody else or a patient. We kind of don't allow those type of things. And I think it's important to shut it down and establish what the expected code is. We actually had a little discussion at our last staff meeting, which we have regularly every week, by the way, which I think is really important to meet together to discuss things. And it was talking about, it's about the patient. It doesn't matter if you're not feeling up to it that day. I said, some patients, often most patients don't care, about how you feel. It's really about them, and it's about the experience we're trying to make for them. And that's, the definition about being professional. And I think reminding our team every day to make sure that we choose our attitude when we come into work, and it's about the patient, and we're on stage and we're there to, make it an amazing experience, eye care experience, and they won't dream about going elsewhere. And that takes a lot of energy and effort every single day. So yeah, I think that's key to make sure that, and it's important for the leaders to set the example. And I know you do a great job of that.
Yeah. And I think part of it too is really forming the conversation about why should your team member care? So, we talk about this is for the patient, but why does employee A, why does it matter to them? And I think that if as leaders, we could do a better job really talking about, you could choose to work anywhere. You can go and work anywhere. You have choice as much as we have choice. And when you choose to work here, the mission is to create an exceptional patient experience. And so here you can find pride. Here you can do cool things with your time and create great patient experiences where maybe you're not held accountable to that anywhere else. And I think when they start to really understand their why, and one thing I talk about is here's our why, our mission, which is to support people like you that exist to help people live better lives. So that's our why. I asked them to define what their why is. Why do they get up in the morning? What drives them? What brings them to marketing? And then intersect. Where's the intersection between these two? And that's why you should care. That's why you should give more than, on those certain days, more than you might have, because that's the driving force. So once they find it intrinsically, then you don't have to motivate as much, but it does take a little bit of effort to have that conversation early in the job, almost day one interview. We put it on the job postings that really find the intersection of your why and our why. That's what should propel a great experience.
Yeah, amazing. Is there somebody that motivates you, Kevin? Because you seem, you're every time I meet you, you've got like lots of motivation, lots of excitement, as I do, and it's kind of we vibe together. When you meet people with the same energy, it makes it real for me. I'm like, hey, Kevin, I want to come find you and have a drink with you and chat with you at the conferences. So where do you get your motivation from?
Early on, it was my family. That was the early motivation. That was the motivation to also just work late, kind of like get up early, do the whole entrepreneur mindset when you start up a company to provide a great life for them. So that was the early motivation. Now I find motivation everywhere. And I mean, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I love connecting with you. I love the conferences, seeing clients, other speakers in the industry, clients, and their ideas. I'm motivated about providing a great work experience, a great client experience, and then at home, a great family experience. And so it's, my stakeholders in my life, and there's a lot of them, but it's the clients, it's employees, family members, and friends. So for me, my motivation's with all of them. And I think part of that is, you talk about going out with your friend and as couples, that's a motivation to find a great evening and create an experience that we're only going to have tonight, and then come to work and create a great experience there. And so my motivation, I did a living legacy workshop with a group of other business owners that I'm part of, and we hired a facilitator, and you kind of really peeled back the onion and got to the why do we do what we do, the thing I asked you earlier. I found out mine was to create experiences for others, even if it's just for a moment. So people make fun of me, but I will, when we go to a restaurant, I will make sure I share what I believe to be the can't miss item on the menu, or the cocktail on the menu, and to try to enhance someone's experience. And so that's my motivation, is try to just to give to others and try to enhance that experience, even just for a moment. So I found mine, and I try to dial in and hone that.
I think one of the cool things too, and I know Kevin, you and I are both dads and as a parent, it's important that our cup is full so that when we come home, we have enough energy for our kids. Now I'm empty nesting. My kids are all in university. So, but to be motivated all the way through every person that you interact with, to keep that same energy and be there and be present and not thinking about your own business when the kids want to play, or you're watching a soccer game, or you're coaching, or whatever you're doing. And I think you do a great job of that. And that is part of the solution of the circle of filling your cup with the passion you have at work. And it's joyful and it's fulfilling. So I think that's cool. I think that's neat too, with, making unique experiences, whether it's for your family or friends. I know when I go on vacation, I do a PowerPoint presentation sometimes, because just to wow them before we go. Like, this is all the cool things to look forward to. And I think marketing itself is a little bit of that anticipation, right? The menu, for instance, is marketing, right? It's what are we going to eat today? How cool is it going to be? And I think romancing that opportunity, that experience, is amazing going forward. And I think in eye care, we can do that too, is setting the stage of what's going to happen. And I think for our pre-testers, and we like to say that this is part of the exam before you see Dr. Miranda. And we have the latest, greatest technology, and explaining some of those tests in a way that is exciting to the patient or informative to that patient, so that it gets them locked in, is kind of a way of marketing during the eye exam, right? What are some of the ways that you'd suggest we can do that digitally? Because that's your forte. What are some of the digital examples that you'd like to see us do out there?
So it comes down to storytelling. I'm very fortunate that when I was a child, I was a Walmart optical customer. And why I say fortunate is that I grew up until 18 only knowing the $50, $60 eye exam that was in and out, quick. And that's what I assumed all were, until I got into this industry. And I remember going for my first real comprehensive eye exam and just being blown away by the technology, the education that I got, the patient care, really asking me questions that I hadn't. And I'm not speaking bad about Walmart here. I'm saying that has a place. But for most of your listeners, which will be the independent, understanding that you really do represent a different option. And in order for someone who's ignorant, who doesn't know the difference, we have to storytell. We have to show and kind of put the patient as the main character of this story and show them what the experience will be like. And so there's two things, right? There's the outcome and there's the experience. The outcome is, yeah, we can actually help with vision. We can help with macular degeneration. We can help solve real problems you have. So that's outcome-based, symptom-based. Then there's also the people that it's part of the routine. They go to their eye doctor. They're going to buy glasses and they want to feel special. They want to feel like that one appointment every 2 years was something they got to do, not something they had to do. And so marketing should be about telling your story. So show me the inside of the practice. Introduce me to the people that I'm going to meet. Show me the brands that you carry. Tell me why you chose those brands over all the others. Tell me the services. How long is it going to take? What am I going to see when I'm there? What am I going to learn? What is this hour going to be? And if you can, really dig into how it's going to be different. And if you're at home, wondering like, I'm not really different, we all do the same thing, your people are what's different. And so that's the first thing. So then really honing on who are those people that make your business great. And then as a team, try to add one or two things that are different, that are out there, that fill a void in the market, and then start telling that story. Because once you tell that story about what makes you different, you will attract the right type of patients that you're hoping to see every day, right into your practice. And I think a good exercise is identifying who that ideal patient is, interviewing them, whether it's next eye exam, or pick the phone up and call them and say, why do you choose us? Why do you keep coming back? Why do you refer us? And kind of accumulate some data. And then that's your marketing story. That's the story you need to tell. And then it's finding the platform you're comfortable, whether it's video like you would be, print, or a graphics or a sign, but find a way to creatively tell that story so that you can attract the right type of patients.
Early on, I went to a conference in Transitions Academy, and I heard the VP of marketing of McDonald's speak. And he was saying, I like all marketing, and I only know 50% of it works, but I don't know which 50%. And so it's hard to know what to invest in. But one thing that hit home that he said is they changed their marketing to not be so paternalistic. So instead of we do it for you, it was more I'm loving it. And that was the impetus for me to create my eyecare.ca and sort of always have that perspective of it's from the patient's perspective. What is the patient thinking? And of course, everybody's unique and they might be thinking different things. And I think part of telling that story is to find out what is the best story to tell. What's their story? And I think that's a unique, challenging piece. One of the little cool things that we do every day, Kevin, is the doctors do what's called a huddle. It's a virtual huddle. They go through each patient and they identify from either their intake forms or previous history some of the key pieces in the testing as well as in eyewear and eye care that are important for that patient so that we can weave that story in every day and make it unique for that patient. And so I think that there's homework that we could do to make it better. And you and I, whenever we're doing a big presentation or something amazing, we prepare. Everybody prepares, right? Why not prepare for each patient in a unique way so we can tell their story in the best way possible? So I wonder what your thoughts on that are.
I mean, personalizing the experience, customizing it to them is the key to success right now in any industry. Think about your favorite restaurant. You probably go there because you're familiar with it. You might have the staff kind of understands you, or your favorite coffee place. They get to know you. They get to know your order. You start to go back because the experience has been a little bit personal or customized to you. People want to feel special. Brand loyalty is at an all-time low. And so what can we do to create that loyalty? And it's showing people you care. So the fact that you take time, have a huddle, dive into them so that you can personalize their exam, their treatment before they get there, to me would create that wow experience. It would be different than anyone else. When I'm at the dinner table and I share how my day was and I share the experience I got from Cowichan, it would be different than the other people at the dinner party. And they would say, well, I don't get that. And they're going to feel wanting. And so now they're going to start, I'll go to the website and I'm going to see what speaks to me. They offer things that my current provider doesn't offer. And so then you can start to win patients over. And so I don't think it's a surprise, Trevor, that you're growing and you have so many practices and have such an imprint, and you're intentional with your huddles and your personalization and customization. I think being intentional with your patient experience is leading to success and the growth. And so, I mean, kudos to you on that one. I think that's it's brilliant.
Well, what's cool is I get a lot of these ideas from listening to you, and it's motivation as to everybody that's innovating. If you're around innovators, you'll want to innovate too. And I think in eye care, that's just the beginning. It's always something new and something exciting. And patients always remark, hey, this is new. It isn't really. Some of my equipment's from day one, 25 years ago, but it feels new because it's a unique experience and we're just telling a different story a little bit. So I just wanted to pivot a little bit, Kevin, to a lightning round questions. And so what is the best business idea that you have that you'll never use?
Can I give you like the one that failed that I thought was
Yeah.
going to be a home run? The one that it was during the pandemic. We wanted to create a low cost option. Social media matters a lot. And it had to do with our business. I called it Instagram wallpaper. And it was creating these feeds, the subscription service to a beautiful Instagram feed. And our designers would create it. We had themes like Sahara for dry eye and different ones. And then practices would subscribe to it. and their feed would populate, and we made sure they weren't geographically close. You would get this incredibly beautifully designed Instagram feed for a fraction of the cost because it's on scale. And it was one of those, like, I still think it's an amazing idea, and it just didn't land. And so my team will never let me use it, if that helps. So I like it, but it won't be used because they won't let it be used, because we put a lot of work in it. It didn't take off. But that would be the one that I think is great, that the market wasn't ready, or maybe I got something wrong on that one.
That's great, Kevin. I want to tell you a little story about that. We interviewed Naya, my daughter, who's in optometry school and a little bit of a guru on social media. And so I take some pictures, and I don't spend a lot of time dressing them up or filtering them. And she's like, Dad, that's such a great picture because it was a little bit blurry, and that's an in thing. And I'm like, what? I didn't mean that, but supposedly that authentic type picture or snap is kind of what's cool and what resonates with her and her friends. So sometimes that uniqueness, which isn't perfect, that imperfection, that showing, a little bit of difference, makes it more real. I don't know if you can comment on that.
I think the hypothesis is that we spent years and years talking about social media needs to be about your story. I even said it, your story, your story, your story. And then we go and sell a standard template. And I think that might be where the disconnect is. We educated people to the fact that this has to be personal to you in an attempt to bring in a low cost, high value product. I think the missed mark was we missed the personalization piece of it. So I think that tells the story right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin, if you could have any job in the world besides, being an entrepreneur and a marketer, what would that job be?
I would want to be a president of basketball operations for an NBA team. I'm a huge basketball fan. Aside from Optometry Unleashed, I listen to basketball podcasts. I love the business of sports. I love the idea of how winning franchises build winning franchises, and why certain teams never win and why others always win, in especially in a salary cap era where you're restricted to the same sort of rules, and how they build accountability and they build discipline and they build these things in there. And so sometimes I will listen to sports more than I will watch them based on my availability. And I love the idea of building a sports franchise. And so to me, it would be that role.
My son's into that. He loves that. And I like the sports industry and the business around sports too. So you must have a fantasy basketball team. Are you in a fantasy basketball league?
You know what, Trev? You can't do everything. Basketball is every night. Football at least is once a week. Basketball is every night. I don't do that. And I also don't bet, because I am never right when it comes to teams. Every team I think should win never does. And Vegas is, undefeated in that. So I stay away from that also. And so no, I don't. But you got to say no to some things, right?
Yeah. You do better than bet. You're betting on yourself, and that's a winning proposition to me. So kudos to you for 10 years in pod marketing. Congratulations on that. Kevin, speaking of bets, I know you do bet in other ways. It's sort of crazy bets that you've won, and sometimes you make your buddies pay up in crazy ways. Can you tell me some of those stories?
Yeah, I mean, I think there isn't a week that goes by that I don't make some sort of bet. Sorry, correction, that I don't win some sort of bet. I mean, one of my favorites was one of my business partners, who is also our CFO. We generally have disagreements when it comes to like best restaurants or best food from a certain place. And so we decided to put it to a test. I went out and got a taste test plate. He got one, and we had an onboarding group. So when we hire people, we bring them in as a kind of a cohort, as a group, so they kind of build relationships together. We did a blind taste test, and when he inevitably lost, as he does frequently, the punishment was, he's part of our pod squad, our soccer team. He had to wear a full chicken outfit, head to toe, like real like mascot style chicken outfit, and go out and play competitive soccer wearing that. And so you can find that on our Instagram page. But I make sure nobody gets a free ride. When they lose, they have to pay up. And I'm the same way. On the very rare occasion that it doesn't work out for me, I've had to pay up, including having to dress like a baby and going in our gym in our office and having to do a little workout, or singing the national anthem publicly at an event because I lost a bet as well. So again, you got to be able to do the time if you do the crime, right?
I love it. I love it. I'll be forewarned not to place bets on you that I can't.
I don't think you can help it. I think you'll find one. We'll find one.
Actually, I would do it. I can just tell right now. I want to in my mind say don't bet Kevin, but now all I can think of is how can I bet you something, that is I want to win. Is of course you and I are very competitive that way. So we also want to really desperately win. So
Yeah, and I'll tell you we do a kind of a Secret Santa exchange, the company. I got the greatest gift I've ever had, which was somebody gave me the ability that if I lose a bet, he will do the punishment. He'll take the punishment, which gives me veto. Like I get immunity on one. So it's the greatest gift I've ever had, specifically Secret Santa. But so I'm going to keep that one close so that the person I'm betting doesn't know. Well, I mean, you'll know, but yeah, it's a nice one to have.
So if I win a bet and someone else has to dress up like a baby and it's not you, then I'll know you've used your immunity card.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And you will know that I have still won because I didn't have to do it. So
That's brilliant, bud.
that's right.
I need a Secret Santa like that to get me out of jail card at
There you
Christmas
go.
time. That's a great idea actually as well. I'll keep that. I'll steal that one.
Mhm.
In our last episode, we chatted with my daughter Naya Miranda about her experience at optometry school. What would you give as advice, Kevin, to a smart, driven college student about to enter, quote unquote, the real world? What advice should they ignore?
Oh, ignore.
What advice should they take? What advice should they ignore?
So the advice that I actually gave to Naya when she was entering school, we were lucky enough to at Vision Expo kind of met up and we did a round table exercise and everybody gave her advice. The advice I gave her at that point was be willing to do what others are not. And that is advice for anybody that is either in a career or a business owner. Be willing to go to places that others just won't. When they stop, you have to go to the next point. And that really helps drive you forward. Like be uncomfortable and be willing to outwork people. And the advice I would say to avoid, especially somebody young right now, is to not only be listening to your peers of your age. I think it's really important to read the room and understand the opinions of everybody in the room. And so what I find many times, especially with some younger, very ambitious people, is they believe their beliefs are everyone's beliefs, or they at least believe their beliefs are what the beliefs of the room. And they very loudly share them and they very passionately share them. It's a very endearing, great quality of that generation. What I will say is that it can tend to alienate other people in the room that you didn't know differ in some opinions. And so sometimes listen, observe, read the room, read your patients, read your colleagues, read your bosses, read your employees, and just in a professional setting, kind of go to the middle, tend to create a safe space. And why I say that is people, if they feel you're so polarizing on one way or the other on an issue, they will be afraid to share an opinion. They'll be afraid to come to you with an idea or thought because they will know you don't share values. And so I tell young managers, I tell young people, just, observe before you really dive in and start trying to change the world, live in the world that we have and try to change it within, as opposed to coming in and bulldozing and trying to change it the way you think it should be. So a little bit more tact, I think, could work to help move some of those opinions and causes.
That's great. A lot of cultures and environments don't encourage you to say, I don't like that, or I don't agree. And I sort of that good cultures have that healthy debate where it's okay to disagree and it's actually encouraged to challenge someone that they're saying in a nice way, in a comfortable way. So you got to get to that point where you're comfortable. On another note, I've often deployed Edward de Bono's 6 hats thinking method. I don't know if you've heard of that, where you only wear the positive hat and everybody has to just put positive pieces. Then you change hats and it's the negative hat and everybody has to contribute to that piece. So it forces everybody to think together. So if you're in an environment where you just feel like you're going with all the positives that this is going to work, as opposed to challenging 360 degrees of that equation of that problem. So we've used that in our practice, and I sometimes tell younger people, think about that 6 hats thinking method, where you could change it. You can use an emotive hat, you can use a creative hat, and then you can have different ways of spinning the problem and coming up with maybe a unique solution there.
Love it. Yeah, I love it. To me, it's you're making a big decision. You want everyone behind you. It's taking a pause and saying, how can this fail? Let's put that on the board. What are all the ways that this could go wrong, and forcing yourself to go down that path, and being, really looking at reality in the face. I love it.
Yeah. And, in the early years of Pod, you used to have a shoe made for every new client. I'm still waiting for my shoe, but can you tell us about the story behind that? And what are some of the examples practice owners can do and have the same impact with their relationships?
Yeah, so here's the shoe. I mean, early on. Yeah, the story was I was in Victoria, close to you, and there happened to be the sign that said world's largest selection of Converse shoes. I'm a big shoe guy. I went in and there was a custom wall, and I was like, this could be cool. And so we created two pairs, one for the client, and the other one I put on a wall and created a shoe wall. This was kind of pre-optometry days. This was they were very like local, kind of eclectic businesses. But I mean, if your question is like how can practices incorporate that? To me, the reason it hit so well and is memorable is because it was different, and again, it was personal to them. And so think about how you can personalize the experience, the conversation, doing something that is just one step beyond expectation. 5-star reviews come when you exceed expectations, and 2 and 1-star reviews come when when you don't even hit the average expectation. And so when you just do what's expected, that's where those 3-4 stars, nobody actually takes time to do it. So the 5 stars are when you exceed expectations. The question is, how can you create a moment, an experience, a product, a service that exceeds that expectation? And then they feel like they get to leave you a 5-star review. They get to give you a referral. They're happy to do so.
I think sometimes service recovery is a great opportunity, right? Where you failed, let's say, to exceed expectations, but now you've got a second chance to really blow the doors off. What are some of the ways that you really crush it with service recovery?
So number one is, I think, right off the bat, you have to under promise right away. Like, you have to be able to over deliver. And so the problem that so many people get is they want to win the press release, so to speak. They want to win the moment by giving a solution that they know will work, but they don't know if they can deliver it. And so the first thing is, don't do that. Like, just acknowledge and hear them, and then just say, let me see what I can do. Know that you can create an answer to the solution, then find a way to like even go above and beyond. And so a perfect example with us is let's say we just didn't nail a website design, or we've gone twice with it and we just can't get it right. On that third attempt, when the client goes, we did it. It took longer than I wanted, but we did that. Then let's provide maybe an email, like a way to show them we understand and appreciate that their time matters, and that we took a little bit more of it than what we expected. And so we'll come to the table with some social media posts or an email marketing campaign that we can launch for them, or just some way to recognize and say, your time is really important. And I understand in the doctor world, you get admin day, it is so limited, you have to do so many things, or else you're working nights and weekends. And so we want to show that just appreciation that we kind of messed up, we didn't adhere to the service agreement that we kind of said, and so we want to come to the table with something to show you that we appreciate it. That usually goes a long way. It's just recognizing it and then making sure you then over deliver on what you say.
Thanks, Kevin. That's great advice. What's a new challenge you're excited to tackle coming up here?
Client first. That's our 3-year strategic theme. I believe that first 10 years was about creating a product people wanted. The second 10 years is going to be creating an experience that people rave about. And so I'm really excited about this. We're going to hire a third-party company to help survey, interview our clients. I'm going to be meeting with clients. I'm going to be asking them these questions. I want to find out where we're winning, where we're being overlooked, like they just don't realize what we're doing, and where we're challenging our clients, creating those challenging moments. And then I want to dive right in and just turn those challenging moments into a win, something that, again, the clients get to do, not have to do. And I want to really listen to what's going on out there, and I want to solve their biggest pain points. I don't want to be the term good enough. I don't want to be just good enough to not leave. I want to be the company that the people rave about, that the happiest invoice they pay. That's my goal, is to be the one that they are the most excited to pay, because it means that they get to work with us. So that's the challenge that I am personally heading up and taking on over the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's great. Pod Marketing is doing a great job, and thanks for your support over the years, helping us grow and partnering with Couch and Eye Care and the industry. I know you support a lot of industry initiatives and help raise all the boats there. Kevin, we need to figure out something that we can do fun together. Let's make a pact right now that we're going to look for a fun experience to share that together over the next year. So let's put our thinking caps on, and I think it's just amazing to have a friend like you. And I want to thank you for joining us on Optometry Unleashed and sharing your insights. And I look forward to a lot more to come.
Thanks, Trevor. I really appreciate the day that you hired me, and we made that work. And you've been someone that I've just really appreciated, just sitting down and talking to and learning about the industry, learning about the way that you see and the visionary that you are. It's really helped me, and in turn helped a lot of your colleagues and our clients. So thank you for that, and thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, my pleasure. What should we be looking out for, Kevin, with Pod Marketing? What's something to keep our eyes out for?
I mean, one that's relevant in this industry is kind of we're taking on the aesthetics industry as well. We've heard loud and clear that this is a direction that optometry is sort of headed. They're looking at adding in. And so we are adding aesthetic services. We're really diving into that industry so that we can holistically provide support to optometrists. So if this is something and you're interested in moving into aesthetics, whether it's lasers or it's solution like products, talk to us. We can kind of guide you through where we see the industry, where we see the opportunities. That's one that we're really diving into head first as well.
Great. Looking forward to that, Kevin. And I want to thank all of our listeners to Optometry Unleashed. Without you, it wouldn't be possible. I want to really thank our sponsors, and we're excited to bring some new stories in the next episodes, and stay tuned for more exciting guests on Optometry Unleashed. Until next time, this is Dr. Trevor Miranda. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on Optometry Unleashed. If you like the show or find the content we provide valuable, please hit the follow button on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's a great way to support our work at zero cost to you. You can also leave us a review of up to 5 stars on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions for me, comments about the podcast, or guests you would like us to consider, please leave us a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts with your feedback. Our team reviews all the comments we receive on the show to guide us in providing better content for our listeners. And thank you again to Hoya Vision Canada for being a proud sponsor of our podcast.